Beyond today and the pictorial evidence of government's achievements as exhibited in the stands, I'm hopeful that doubtful hearts will be put to rest in relation to what has been done. The next $1 million question is what is ahead for us as Ghanaians, and especially the good people of Ashanti region. For that matter. Your Excellency, the Vice President, the issue that is here to the heart of the Ashanti region is our road network. I'm fully aware that several sword-cutting ceremonies have been performed here in the region. Thankfully, some have started, but others have not hit the ground. For those who have started, most are at the rate of a tortoise pace. We are very grateful for the strides so far, but Your Excellency, the truth is that we need the roads badly to facilitate easy and comfortable movement and promote business. We are also concerned about the SHS graduates who will be passing out onto the university next academic year. What are the preparations made for them at the universities and other tertiary institutions? I'm hopeful that these issues of concern and many more that are bothering us as a nation will be addressed, so that together we build our nation for generations yet to come. Your Excellency, the Vice President, we in Kumasi have had problems. Serious problems that are associated with environmental and security. And I'm taking this opportunity to bring it to attention for proper action to be taken. I mean, we are all witnesses to the fact that for 3 months now, we've heard some murders have been going on in Kumasi mysteriously. And so far as we are concerned, the police, who are responsible for our security, haven't talked about it. Now we know that in the Western democracies, what usually happens is that when these things happen, the police, they come out to solicit for help. At least they make the citizens see that something is being done about it. But we in Kumasi have seen that nothing is being done about it. For since last year, October, when these mysterious measures started, we haven't heard anything from the police. So we have assumed that they are not doing anything about it. So once the Vice President is here, we want to bring it to his attention that some mysterious measures have been occurring in Kumasi, and it all involves ladies. Ladies have been murdered. And usually these things are done in the night. And what is facilitating this is that when you come to Kumasi in the night, the whole place is in darkness. Every part of Kumasi is in darkness. So if somebody wants to carry out this nefarious act, it becomes easy. So we want to bring it to the Vice President, once he's here, that this is what is happening in Kumasi. So the police should be up and doing on this matter. Your Excellency, I also want to talk about the environment. A lot of things have been happening in Kumasi, and I'm sure you don't know. So once you are here, once again, I want to tell you that I want to take the opportunity to let you know Because once you know, then we know that something will definitely be done about it. Now, when you come to Kumasi, what is happening now is that everybody does what he likes or what he thinks fit. Now, when the politicians intervene, they tell them that they won't vote for them. So, Kumasi, what is happening here seriously is an eyesore. For example, just before you get to Golden Tulip Hotel, yesterday I went there in the night to see for myself, so that when I come here to talk, then I know what I'm talking about. Just before you get to Golden Tulip, the road on the left has been turned into a rubbish dump. I went there to see it for myself, and it's there. And I believe that if you are in Kumasi, you would admit that one of our flagships is Golden Tulip Hotel. So that if a visitor is coming to Golden Tulip Hotel, and the first thing he sees is garbage, unattended garbage, being put left and right, or being left and right, it creates a certain image about Kumasi. And we believe that this is not the best. That is going on. And some of our secondary schools, especially when you go to Swami area, that whole place has been turned to a rubbish dump. I believe this is affecting our environment. We believe that these are the things that makes us get sick, and these are the things that makes us go to the hospital, and this is what makes the government's health bill goes up. So, Mr. Vice President, Your Excellency, I'm using this opportunity, I'm taking this opportunity to draw your attention to this. And then lastly, about properties in Kumasi that don't have septic tanks. Your Excellency, when you come to Kumasi, one of the problems that we have here is that most of the beautiful structures that you see, they don't have septic tanks. Now, all the waste are directed straight to the gutter. So it ends up in our streams. This is not good for our health. And we want to draw the president's attention to it. Now, there's a very, very big hotel in Kumasi. I'm not going to mention the name. No. They are guilty. And I can provide the evidence, because I've gone there to see it for myself. So, Vice President, His Excellency, these are some of the issues that you want to look at whilst you are in Kumasi and help us to address it. At this juncture, let me take this opportunity on behalf of my overlord, Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II, the Asantehene, and the people of Asante-Mine, once again, to show our appreciation to His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, and the NPP government, for many interventions in this dear nation of ours. The latest of them being the provision of ambulances to the region. Let me once again indicate my willingness to chair this very important program and offer a warm akwaba to you, to the region. I wish you a very successful program. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you very much, Nana Chairman. Nana, the Bantamahini is share of the occasion. Nana, we are grateful. Thank you very much, Nana Chairman. Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, thank you very much, Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Chair, Honorable Ministers of State, senior government officials, I crave your indulgence at this juncture to acknowledge the hard-working MMDCs who are helping to implement the vision of His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, on the ground. I acknowledge the presence in our midst of all 43 MMDCs in the Ashanti region. Please give us a wave, all MMDCs present. Thank you. Thank you very much. I also like to acknowledge the presence of those hardworking members of parliament who are helping His Excellency fashion out laws to govern this country and to give us the progress that the people of Ghana are witnessing. All 47 members of parliament from the Ashanti region, the vast majority, in fact, very soon all 47 will be on the ticket of the NPP, but the vast majority, the very vast majority of members of parliament from this region, please give us a wave. We acknowledge your presence and we thank you for the hard work. Your Excellency, Mr. Emmanuel Gallo is the regional chairman of the Convention's People's Party. Mr. Chairman and your executives, we acknowledge you and we welcome you. I also recognize Mr. Bernard Enchibuesiako, Chairman Wontumi, the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the ruling New Patriotic Party. I recognize you. I recognize Mr. John Bredu, the General Secretary of the ruling New Patriotic Party. The second Vice Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, F.F. Anton, we recognize you. Chairman, thank you for coming. Nana Chairman, I recognize Professor Richard Dixon, the Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University of Science and Technology. Of Science and Dr. Anthony Akoto-Osei, Member of Parliament for some call him the seer of the future. Some call him the Adam Smith of our time. He is the chairman of the economic management team. He is an economist of international repute. The Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Thank you very much, Nana Chairman. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I invite our host minister, Honorable Simon Osei Mensah, to welcome us officially to this program.
Much, my younger brother, Pius. Your Mahmoud, the representative of 2462 the second, the Asantehene, in the person of Bafo Owusu Amankwetia the sixth, Bant Mahine, Honorable Ministers of State and Honorable Deputy Ministers of State, members of Parliament here present, Vice Chancellor of Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Honorable Metropolitan Municipal and District Chief Executives, and heads of departments, my good friends from the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We are gathered here this morning to participate in the government meeting and also the second program in the series of the first ever result fair in Ghana. Program I work program Nananom, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, over the past few years, since the MPP government took over the reins of government, that was about 3 years ago, there have been tremendous strides in the history of a dear nation. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, ably supported by His Excellency, the Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, have worked endlessly and tirelessly to bring the country to the level where we can confidently say that we have moved ahead and can compete with other countries on all standards. Your Excellency, it was indeed no secret, and we can all attest to the several positive government initiatives that have been introduced and implemented and are making great impact on our people and drastically changing lives. These interventions, to mention a few, include the free senior high school policy, granting for food and jobs, one constituency, $1 million, one district, one factory, digitization of the national economy, and the Ghana card registration exercise, just to mention a few. Like the good old book says, nobody lights a candle and places under a bushel. It is important that the good works of the government are exhibited for all to see. We will therefore witness today and testify the good deeds of the MPP government under the able leadership of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana. In addition, we will also receive information on implemented government policies, programs, and projects, and also receive feedback from the public for policy refinement. This is clearly in line with the vision outlined in the President's coordinated programs of economic and social development policies, named Agenda for Jobs, Creating Prosperity and Equal Opportunities for All, 2017 to 2024. It is for this reason of interaction and feedback that town hall meetings are held in all the regions of Ghana for the mounting of exhibitions for metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies to showcase their projects and programs. Nana Chair, Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Nananom, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am reliably informed that the main objectives of this evidence-based results fair are: 1, showcase the progress of implementation of government policies, programs, and projects. 2, provide an opportunity for the people of the Ashanti region to interact with the sector ministries and metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies. And 3, to provide opportunity for knowledge sharing and idea sourcing to help bridge the results-based information gap. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, outside this great hall, you will find pictorial evidences of all the great and positive interventions of government on display in the various stands. There are also designated officers who promote engagement and interaction with the citizens, who seek clarification on the displays in the stands. I will encourage distinguished participants gathered here this morning to make this interactive engagement very fruitful and make constructive contributions without being insulting or provocative. Ghana belongs to us all, and the more commitment we exhibit, the better for us all. Let us work together as one people, one nation, with a common destiny. On this note, Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Nananom, Honorable Ministers of State, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, morning to participate in this memorable town hall meeting, as well as the second in the series of the Maiden Ghana Results Fair, and wish us all a very insightful interaction this morning. Thank you very much for your kind attention. May the Almighty God bless us all. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Host Minister, Honorable Simon Osei-Mensah. Nana Chair, with your indulgence, I'd like to acknowledge a few more of our distinguished invited guests. All of us are very distinguished and we are all invited, but time will not allow me. I have a rather long list, so please bear with me if I do not mention your name, but I will find time within the program. My brother and friend, Henry Nana Boakye, is the National Youth Commander of the New Patriotic Party. He's here, I recognize you. I recognize Honorable Amwaku Atta, Member of Parliament for Etiwa West and Minister for Roads and Highways. I recognize you. The Honorable Minister of Transport is sitting right. Honorable Sheikh Mustafa Abdul Hamid is the minister responsible for inner city and Zongo development. Alaj, I recognize you. Honorable Kofi Ada is Member of Parliament for Navrongo Central and Minister responsible for aviation. Honorable Minister, you are recognized. Honorable Mohammed Awal is Minister for Business Development. Honorable Minister, you are welcome. Honorable Isaac Esiama is Minister for Youth and Sports. Honorable Minister, you are recognized. Former Defense Minister, current Chair of the Governing Board of the Senate, Honorable Adokufo, I recognize you. I recognize the Honorable Catherine Ablima Afeku, Minister of State. I recognize you. I shall continue with the acknowledgements and we shall all be duly acknowledged. We are all welcomed. At this juncture, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the men and women who are assisting in executing and implementing the vision of His Excellency, the President on the ground. There are 43 municipal, district, and metropolitan assemblies in the Ashanti region. The Dean of the College of MMDCs is Honorable Joseph Owusu Odenchem. He shall give us a short message on behalf of the hardworking MMDCs. Honorable Odenchem.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Vice President, Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, Nabantu Mahene, the representative of Otumfuo and chair of this great program. I crave your indulgence to switch back to local BBC. Nananom Mahima for the regional minister, Medi Siunaso, Osada, MMDCs, Adrianami and Saya, Inina Yano. Bejina, the regional minister, Mpabwa Kasinum, na said Abrofo Ekase, I stand in his existing protocol. No. Jan Mpabwa Kasin Nemu, Emma Atitru, a Wahanina, Aquaba, Fata. Santimantemo Ira Kufuado, Mampenini, Nadama, and a member named Mabawa. What they pain, a mudro, a power, say Yemra, Nibijana Nemu, Ewo mentioning Kuma Nano, na Mpuntua, Ghana for Adeshi Kukrumuti, Ede Neba Benyaso, Wapese or Debe Sumono. Inyina na nemo na yemfansom ene yeshia na nadaroma ne mampanyini abedi akire awfata ena ebepa entoma ewo dwumadie ho na yafrase abunkonta emfie miensa Ghana for de abanwen ma no de waye na de omoa Ghana for ahyase yekase se adwuma pa efata ntoaso de a omadane brofo se for more for nanano de wode ni mfie men de kan no wode bekire asanteman ene adehye ya hoho akwa titire wo mu ne se dwumadie eye omamu dwumadie nanso wo hwe asanteman mu so wode eba ha ye dana se oba abemu na ofa eye mensiri na eye district Mako Eduasape ene waha. Na ye kasei na daroma ne asantemaya ompese obeja ye chire no onye ya bronti no. Wababae mansini no mu ede Mako edumiensa 13 abepi yeso. Na ya nchire mu a unhu no. Ese ebida wanum a na atubi e ebene. Tinadama se wode mpuntuo nam district no so ene so na nim die mu hu se opempuntuo ne se beba abedru adehye ntem enchentem ye district no mu na wa anya ya bro na wode Mako edumiensa bepi yeso a ene ama mebra panyini ke memeyo ne kɔn aheha no kakra ɔman ɛyɛ keka ne echicha onuanom mayorfoɔ ɛka no ho na ɔmo akɔhomakorɔ na de kɔhwɛ constituency bɛyɛ 9 na ɔno nko ade ne deɛ ɛhwɛ du baako ɛnɛ ne constituencies na ka enum yawae mum di nsia ka ho a edi mmirika paa te sɛ Usain Bolt ɛde mpuntuo ɛbre Kumasi ɛne ne mpɛtɛmu na me mama sɛ mo wa no yaseda ɛwie na bɛyɛ krakra na matena ase no ɛyɛ nyame otwedi ampɔdea sɛ na ebinom nso sɛ panyini ontumi nya mampanyini da na nnɛ ɔyɛ mampanyini a ne nnwuma pa ɛda adi na yɛwie akɔ ɛyɛ park so yɛwie akɔ park so ne akɔ gyina district boot ho akyerɛkyerɛ adɔfo ne adehye a ɔmo pɛ hu yɛde wie ne sɛ mampanyina bɛde akyerɛ wadaroma wopa ntoma yi wie a badwumadie gya yɛ regional minister na wɔmfa nyaeɛ yɛdeɛ ne sɛ yɛne bɛhwɛ adeɛ kɔkafoɔ yi ɛyɛ nhyehyɛ adanseɛ nti ɔmo ani akyire ɛmra district ne nyinaa ɛmɛfa nnwuma a yɛde bɛkyerɛ yi so ɛmɛdi adanseɛ ma amansa nyinaa nte bi sɛ ampa yɛyɛ nnwuma ne deɛ ɛnyɛ photoshop ɛyɛ real shop tongoni bɛka sɛ ɛyɛ fili ga dochi ɛyɛ fili ga dochi nyame nhyira me nyinaa medam ase.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Drobonso Mayor and Dean of the College of MMDCs Ashanti. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I shall get back to the acknowledgements. I shall do well to acknowledge everybody. Honorable Collins Tim is Deputy Minister at the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. Honorable Francis Aban is Deputy Minister, Ministry of Health. We have Honorable Patricia Pieje, Deputy Minister, Environment, Science and Technology. Honorable William Sabi, Deputy Minister at Monitoring and Evaluation. Honorable Dr. Yao Educhum, Deputy Minister, Ministry of Education. I see lots of agency heads. I see you. I shall recognize you. I see my senior brother, the founding executive director at the Dankwa Institute, Gabi Asare. I see you. I recognize you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, there is a group of about 45 hardworking individuals elected by the good people of the Ashanti region to represent them, and they are so ably doing that in Parliament. The head of the caucus of the Ashanti regional MPs, who doubles as the Deputy Minister, Environment, Science and Technology, is also here to share a few words of encouragement with us. The representative
the representative of O24 State 2, doubling as the chairman of this occasion, sorry, Excellency, the Vice President of Ghana, Haji Mahmoud Bawumia, Honorable Regional Minister, Honorable members of state, Ministers of State, the members of Parliament here present, Honorable MMDCs and all other chief executives, Nananom, external traditional chiefs and queen mothers, the members of the clergy, the leadership of our great party, and representatives of other political parties, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, students and members of the media. And now I am Bebre. Sir, ne yebedi juma srongo bi ene yama yem penifo aba sɛ yɛmbɛtie adwumaden a yɛayɛ yɛn members of parliament yɛadwumaden ɛka ho bi ɛna ɛnɛ yɛbɛpa saa adwumadi a yɛbɛyɛ yi ɛho ntama adwumaden no ɛne sɛn adwumaden ne sɛ party anaa government waso daeɛ soronko a ɔpɛ sɛ ɔde bɛbu ɔman but ɔno nko a ntumi nsɔre ɛnyɛ sɛ adwuma no kyerɛ members of parliament ɛne ne yɛ adwene na ne susu yɛ mmara ɛne nhyehyɛeɛ a ɛwɔ sɛ yɛnya adidi saa adwuma yi saa nneɛma no nyinaa no members of parliament Asante region caucus yɛne yɛdɔɔso yɛka ho bi ne ayɛ saa adwumadie yi ama ɛnɛ adwumadie a yɛbɛpa ho ntoma atumi aba ɛfiri sɛ ɔmampanyin ansa na ɔde ne dayɛ so bɛbɛ mu no na ɛho hia sɛ ɔbɛnya sika no ɛhefa na ɔbɛnya no wɔne a ɔne wɔn atu anammɔn anaa baabi a ɔrekɔbɔ bosia ne nyinaa ɛyɛ adwuma sɛ mobɛhwɛ a ɛberɛ a yɛbɔɔ members of parliament din no nipa kakra bi na ɛmaa yɛn nsa so mepɛ sɛ megyina ha na mekyerɛ mo sɛ yɛde representatives na ɛbaeɛ ɛfiri sɛ meka sɛ parliament ɛsete a dwumadie a ɛho hia baako paa ma yɛmmɛn ɛma asomdwoeɛ security ɛne ho nneɛma ɛkɔ soɔ no ɛkɔ so wɔ parliament wɔ hɔ a ama ɛnnɛ nti yɛn nyinaa yɛntumi amba sɛdeɛ yɛpɛ no na adeɛ baako a mepɛ sɛ mede ɛto yɛn nyinaa yɛnim ɛne sɛ MPs adwumayɛ no sɛ wotie me nua yɛ ɔdii kan kasaeɛ a ɔse mpuntudwuma no ɔmo na yɛapa wɔ mo ɛno nti na ɔmampanyin akyekyɛm anya 45 districts sɛ yɛmfa nyɛ adwuma mmarahyɛbadwamfoɔ yɛyɛ deɛ ɛne sɛ yɛhyɛ mmara ne yɛde atae akyire afei nso yɛhwɛ sɛ sika a yɛbɛtwa de aba district anaa yɛde bɛkɔ ministries yɛde ayɛ adwuma no yɛbɛtumi aboa ama saa nhyehyɛeɛ no nyinaa akɔ so na yɛhunu sɛ sika no yɛyisu no ɛkwampa so ɛno na yɛyɛ frɛ no brɔfo kasɛm oversight ɛno na yɛsrɛ sɛ amanfoɔ bɛte yɛ adwuma no ase na ɔmatumi ne yɛn adwene wowɔ haw bi a yɛn na wɔ sɛ ɔne yɛ adwene na yɛso yɛtumi atu ɛho anammɔn but adwuma no ɛda fam paa ne deɛ ɛyɛ district municipal and Metropolitan Assembly for omuna omudi saa adwuma yi ti ehun sɛ yɛmɔdebɔ ama yɛabɛn akɔ n'anim na futuo kakra a mepɛ sɛ yɛde ma yɛn nyinaa yɛwɔ ha ɛne sɛ da biara meka saa asɛm sɛ yɛfa yɛasante man mu ha sei a yɛn nana bantamahene bɛgyina ha nsɛm bebree ɛna wɔkaeɛ ba wohwɛ yɛamammuo mu a yɛamammuo mu nsɛm a aban a atena so akyɛ ne NDC aban na ɛnam sɛ ɛbere bi a wɔn bɛba no yɛ development agenda yɛnka ho na yɛnhyɛ da ɛnte aseɛ ne yɛnyɛ adwuma nti ɛno nti na aba ne saa nti ɛnnɛ sɛ yɛbɛdan dwumadie soronko adi na yɛde akyerɛ asanteman a nea mekyerɛ ne sɛ mɛsrɛ mo wadaroma mabotrɛ ɛbɛhia yɛn ɛfiri sɛ sɛdeɛ yɛsi ahyɛ ase a yɛsisi yɛn nan no saa ne yɛbɛsrɛ sɛ mobɛtaa yɛakyi ɛfiri sɛ monni obiara a wɔbɛyɛ yɛn abɛn na bere biara yɛba a yɛde mpuntuo ba asante nti yɛbɛsrɛ montaa yɛakyi na yɛntumi de dwumadie no yɛda mo ase ɛwɔ
Yadamuase, Untayechi, Ayenquia, and a bit to me, Edia Mamo. Thank you very much, Honorable Patricia Apieje. Ladies and gentlemen, I shall now invite the Honorable Minister Gojo Oponkroma to give us a brief statement on purpose of gathering. Honorable Minister of Information, my boss, a member of Parliament for Ofuasi Eyiribi.
Thank you, Honorable Pius. Omampedi Abedi Echiri, Dr. Bawumia, Nana Otiedwem, ministers, any deputy ministers are say, MPs, ne MMDCs, any chief executives Waha, Nananom, any Nananoma Hima, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Anope Yechia Obibia Owaha say. The Sanso Damas is a Monya Bre, Abekaya, Ewujumedi ya Babedi. Ghana Mrakuni Constitution. Say Abrebia, was say Abambia, Ebum Kunta, Echrene Manfor, Potokasano, of friend of probity and accountability. Nana Danko Akufuado, Abaino, Atna Akunya Kesieso, and Fia Miensa, and the Busumi Mienupe. And Fia Miensa, ne Busumi Mienuno, Yesusu say, Emraso say, Ibu Akun Tachre Ghana for Juma Yaye Sabrimu. And Kuntabuono, Yefano, Nafana Miensa, Yedi Kain, Abra Yebon to 2016, no, a Boshe Ahodwa, Yeshe Ghana for, says to me Bekayan Sa, said Juma Wini Ebeye. Urad Danko Kufuado, and in a bedi Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, Eshe Bo, Maku, Ahasa, and near your watching. 388 manifesto commitments. Na se yehwe petitakrem na yehwe adwuma ayaya yeji di se ya boy ehomode edum pempensuo bi a yetumi ne Ghana fosi nkonwa na yebu eho akonta akere wom se yenuanom adwuma amode share yensani ya yede aba bedu enie the edikan eye manifesto promises no the tosu mienu ye enema bi a sabre no yanhye hobo yensusu dapo se eba beto ya kwantimfi nanso eba ye no yesom na ye ho adwuma the tosu miensa eye ekwan a aka wo yanim efiti sabre kopem afi na wiye ya mfie 9 de besom so adwuma ye hwe na ye eno ena no pa wie yesi nkonwa wa ha sei ewo the first government town hall meeting for the year 2020 say yeba bedi ehun komo no mampani abedi echire nankasa Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia no ono ese kaku dedi no kwakuanum no ankasa no de ebe konsem ni na poso na wacheche. Our expectations are simple. First, that all stakeholders here will pay attention to the data that will be put out today. This conversation is about data. And so we invite all who want to participate in this conversation to come forth to examine the data, and where they have other views or challenges, to come forth with their own data. It will not be about anecdotes, it will not be about suspicions, it will be about hard, cold, verifiable data. We welcome all of you, and we look forward to a fruitful conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kojo Oponkroma, Minister for Information. Sheikh Abdul Mumin Harun, the Regional Chief Imam, and Islamic Ulama, we recognize you. We also recognize all Christian clergy present. I shall now invite the Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation, Honorable Dr. Anthony Akutuose, to share a few words with us. This program is being organized by the Ministry of Information and the Ministry of Monitoring and Evaluation in collaboration with the Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council. Honorable Minister.
Piles Midawase. I'm paying a bit yesterday. Raji Doctor Mamadou Bawumia. Otum for Sianamu. Na bank my him, ya minia. I said, catch up and say, I don't pay me by it, and I bought me quite good. Best your mom. If you have to put the job to a man and I'm say, what can I do? I see if you know. The Sebame, Gacheme. Kakrebi. Intia Yawado, say, Minuaketua could you open them? I said, Michema, the Intia Yawahane. I said, now to me and I never saw me. The ministry name Ministry of Information, you be one kind. A friend of first results fair. I didn't know, sir. Sabe, cabinet, Ebun Kunta, any cabinet ministers were Ubisa Ibubaku say, the idea pana, Nanaba by the wire. Obi Bakubi, wow, with Magacho. Obi, also with Magacho, and say, Mr. Obwa. Tehe, they will say, Ministry, you buy, maybe they don't book. Dear Crowley, you need the Omi. Okodo. As we be the you see Boko. And it say, Minister of our meeting. Yes, so ignite them to Mabu. I am Vice President who did Nanado Chino. One Casaba Kumasi as Santimai. No, Obibun Kunta. Inti, and I buy a Kuntabu Ama Nanado Abai. I'm paying about the chief vice president every year. Now, tech campus here, it's a vice chancellor. I'm and then the message of them so I almost sorry. Their partner say, Obi Biara Wabahado, and son will be free Akodo. Now, dear Baku, Menu, and Army and Sa, now names and another Wayedo, at least to Bekai. One kai be out there, Bakumi, Numiansa, so kai. Fee say, and say, baby, no. Me, Mati, and Oma, my paying, I be the chief, they are to come cabinet, main country. Ya, in Yadon or Mametu, Numtu, Damasi,
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation, that was a papa. At this juncture, we want to show to the world that work is happening on the ground and that the change that the people of the Ashanti region, the change that the people of Ghana voted for is happening right there on the ground. To be able to do that, and before we take the keynote address, ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to come on a tour of a few of our districts as you see major infrastructure happening on the ground. I'll show you a brief video documentary of work happening on the ground. In the region. colleagues that were taken from them, we have restored the allowances. We have restored the allowances for teacher trainees and nursing trainees. We are delivering emergency medicine by drone, the first of its kind, that size, the first of its kind, not only in Africa, but indeed the world. His Excellency the President cut sword for the construction, I believe, of a road, a major road in the Ashanti region. The school. Bronkrom boundary. This road is now completed. This road is now completed. Kumewu runabout with associate drains and curbs on adjoining roads. Reshaping of Oyoko Banko, etc. Akrofomso feeder roads. Akrofomso, thank you very much. Evidence-based. Evidence-based. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I give you my word, these videos are out there, they are on screens. They are on screens, and we shall take time to go through the entire presentation before we leave. A big round of applause for His Excellency the Vice President.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anabantamahene, representative of Otumfuo Setutu II, regional minister, ministers of state, members of parliament, MMDCE, our father, Dr. Adol Kufuor, chairman of SNIT, board chairman, CEOs, and deputy CEOs, the vice chancellor of the KNUST and the pro-vice chancellor, heads of departments, deans, staff, and students, clergy and imams, our General Secretary, Indefatigable John Boyd, the MPP, and National Youth Organizer, Nana Boache, friends from the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Bichia Munjina. I bring you greetings from His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Akufo. It is a pleasure to have the opportunity to share with you our assessment of the economy and our assessment under the leadership of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, was largely aware of the nature of the problems that existed in the economy before we came into office. We had analyzed the economy before we came. We analyzed these problems, talked about them, and put forward solutions which were largely captured in our 2016 election manifesto. Some of the problems that existed in the economy, many of which were worsened following the 8 years of the NDC government, included declining economic growth, high inflation, high interest rates, high rate of exchange rate depreciation, high fiscal deficit, rapid accumulation of the debt. In fact, the debt increased 12-fold under their government in 8 years. Weak and collapsing financial system, high unemployment, NHIS was back to cash and carry, emergency healthcare system was collapsing with only 55 semi-functional ambulances in the country. We had to contend with 4 years of doomsday. Average annual increase in electricity prices between 2015 was 40% increase averagely in electricity prices. We had increases freeze, cuts in research allowances for lecturers, allowances, abolition of nursing training allowances, and teachers were paid 3 years. Import, and we had corrupt practices associated with the acquisition of passports, driver's licenses, problems renewing NHIS membership, cumbersome process of clearing goods at the ports. Parents could not afford senior high school fees for their kids. We had no national working system in the country. We had corrupt processes associated with the manual court processes and the IMF program was resorted to restore public policy credibility with its attendant conditionalities. Notwithstanding and all these problems, we had to get on with it and start to be cognizant of our many promises. In fact, at the direction of the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, we put together a dashboard of manifesto promises immediately 2016 election, and before we were sworn in, he asked us to put together and we have been using this dashboard to track our manifesto promises since. Ladies and gentlemen, the challenge was huge. How can an economy that could not afford to pay teacher and lower taxes, restore teacher and nursing training allowances, create jobs, implement free senior high school, create planting for food and jobs, reduce electricity prices, formalize the economy, industrialize the economy, reduce the cost of doing business, and so on, while at the same time reducing the budget deficit and reducing borrowing. It seemed an impossible task. And opponents were emphatic that we could not fulfill our promises. But we were confident that with good economic management and by the grace of God, we could make what seemed impossible possible. Resetting of the fiscal and monetary policy framework in the context of the existing IMF program that we had inherited. The IMF program had been completely run off track by our predecessors. We renegotiated the IMF program in a manner that provided fiscal consolidation at the same time creating the fiscal space to deliver on our promises to Ghanaians. It took some skill and experience on the part of the Ghana team to renegotiate the IMF program that ensures consolidation, but at the same time, strong growth, and which I am happy to say Ghana successfully exited the IMF program in April last year. After 3 years in office, the results of the fiscal consolidation are evident, and the data shows that significant progress has been made to restore macroeconomic stability and economic growth. The growing confidence in the macroeconomy owes a lot to the prudent management of our public finances and monetary affairs over the last 3 years. To underpin fiscal discipline going forward, Ghana has for the first time in history passed into law a Fiscal Responsibility Act that limits the fiscal deficit in any year to a maximum of 5% of GDP and requires a positive primary balance to ensure debt sustainability. In addition to a Fiscal Responsibility Act, we established a Fiscal Council to provide oversight and advice on the implementation of fiscal policy. This has never been done in our history. So as a result of good discipline, the fiscal deficit on a cash basis from 6.8% of GDP in 2016 to 3.8% in 2018, 4.8% in 2019, below the fiscal rule of 5%. For the first time in a decade. So we are managing the public finances better. Ghana recorded surplus means that our tax revenue exceeded government spending, excluding debt service payments. For 3 years in a row, this is for the first time in a whole decade of 10 years, for 3 years in a row, we've achieved primary budget surpluses for 3 years in a row. The primary balance surplus was 0.5% of GDP in 2017, 1.4% in 2018, and 0.9% in 2019. This compares with a deficit of 1.1% in 2016. A positive primary balance is important because when you have a positive primary balance, it means that you are slowing down the rate of debt accumulation. That is what it means. A positive primary balance means you are slowing down the rate of debt. That means you are really implementing good fiscal management and prudent fiscal management. So let us look at what has happened to the debt, right? As a result of this fiscal discipline imposed upon ourselves and achieving the total has increased from 122 billion in 2016 to 2 billion to GDP at the end of November 2019. But this includes the cost of the banking sector, which, as you know, is over 13 billion Ghana cedi. The debt stock stands at 203 billion, or 59.1% of GDP. However, if you look at these debt dynamics, the strong fiscal adjustment that has taken place and better debt management has meant that the rate of debt accumulation has slowed down considerably to the lowest in a decade. Between 2008 and 2012, right? The first 2008 and 2012, Ghana's debt stock increased by 267%. Between 2008 and 2012, Ghana's debt stock increased by 267%. Between 2012 and 2016, Ghana's debt stock increased by another 243%. So you look at the graph here, you will see that if you look at the debt to GDP ratio, for example, the debt to GDP ratio increased by 49% between 2008 to 2012. And 2016, and by 3.9% between 2016 and 2019. So you are seeing that there is fiscal discipline that is being implemented. There's a big difference between before 2017 and after 2017. It's a clear difference. So, ladies and gentlemen, the government of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has therefore kept its promise to to reduce the rate of borrowing that was taking place before we came into office. I would also like to note that although in absolute terms, the interest payments on the debt have increased over the last 2 years, with much better debt management, interest as a percentage of our GDP, the GDP is our income, has actually declined from 6.9% of GDP to 5.6% in 2016, 6% in 2018, and 5.7% in 2019. So we are reducing the burden of the debt on the budget by reducing debt as a ratio, or the interest payments as a ratio of GDP, from 6.9% to 5.7%. That is a major achievement that has taken place. So even though the quantum of the debt has gone up, we are paying less as a percentage of our annual income to service that debt. And that is good economic management. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to turn to inflation and interest rates. A combination of prudent monetary policy and fiscal consolidation supported by zero central bank financing of the government and strong external sector developments have underpinned a steady disinflation process over the last 36 months. Inflation has dropped steadily from a high of 15.4% at the end of 2016 to 7.9% at the end of December 2019, which is about the lowest since 1992. The lowest since 1992. Ladies and gentlemen, these two graphs are very instructive. If you look at these two graphs, the one on the left will tell you about different types of inflation. You have the headline inflation, you have the food inflation, and then the non-food inflation. The food inflation is the lower one in the orange. But what you are seeing is that before the MPP government came into office, there was a wide divergence between the different inflation rates. Headline, food inflation, and non-food inflation. There was a wide divergence. It means inflationary expectations were quite well anchored. What you are seeing since we've come into office, with the good work we're doing, you are seeing a convergence of food inflation, non-food inflation, and inflation, which means we are managing the inflation much better, and that is a good thing for Ghana. Now, how has this decline in inflation, I mean, if you look at what we call core inflation, which is inflation excluding the volatile items like on the right, core inflation, line inflation. If you take out the volatile items in the basket, how does it look like? You will it's like they were taking us up a mountain, giving all of us wahala going up the mountain, right? So you see core inflation going up. Under the MPP, you see core inflation. You are now coming down the mountain and easing the burden. And how has this reflected in the everyday lives of? I've taken two items. One is petroleum prices, or the rate of increase in petroleum prices. If you look at the rate of increase in petroleum prices, it has declined. In fact, if you look at NDC, between 2009 and 20, annual increase in petrol prices was 29.5% every year. Between 2012 and 2013 and 2016, every year the average increase was 24%. But because we've been able to bring inflation down and manage the economy better under Nana Akufo-Addo between 2017 and 2019, further, in addition to this, you've seen in electricity. You see, between 2010 and 2015, in 2010, electricity prices went up in this country by 89%. 28%. 2012, of course, election year, price increase. 2013, they gave it to us, 78%. 2014, 23.36%, 28.36%. 2015, 59.2%. This is electricity price increase. We promised that we will do a decrease in electricity price increase. Okay? 2016, of course, there was no increase, another election. But 2016, first year in government, electricity price. 2018, we reduced electricity prices by 22%. This government in in 2019, we increased the prices by 11%, but when you take the net between 2019 and 2018, in net terms, since we've been in office, prices, and it has not happened so far. And therefore, it is a promise that we have fulfilled. Reducing inflation, ladies and gentlemen, by 50% between 2016 and 2019 is really a remarkable achievement. A major achievement that we've done to reduce inflation. In fact, the sterling performance of Ghana, leadership of Governor Addison in bringing down inflation is among the reasons why the bank in the world, the Bank of Ghana last week was selected as Central Bank of the Year 2019. Central Bank of the Year 2019. It has never happened. It has never happened that our central bank has even featured there in the top 3. Historically, it has never happened. Normally, we have won African Central Bank of the Year. We have won that before. But to win the world or the global Central Bank of the Year, it tells you that something good is happening in Ghana under Nana Addo-Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And the steady disinflation process has provided monetary policy easing. The Bank of Ghana percent in 2013 to 16%. Basis 9.5%. On the left, the Bank of Ghana policy rate is on the, you'll see under the NDC, you see a steady increase in the interest rate. Again, they are taking us up the mountain are taking us up. But with the MPP in office, we have coming down the mountain under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And you have seen that this has resulted in a decrease in lending rates, even though we still want to see lending rates come down. We've come down from 32% in 2016 to 23.6% in 2019. That's a major reduction, but we will keep working to do more. Ladies and gentlemen, I now turn to our performance in the external sector. Ghana's payments position has strengthened. For the first time in 20 years, for the first between what we export, that is the trade balance, the difference between our exports and our imports. First time in 20 years, the trade balance has recorded a surplus for 3 years in a row. Surplus in 2017, even larger surplus in 2019. And this is not because we are importing less, but it is largely because of increased exports as a result of the positive transformation of this economy under the MPP government. The positive trade balance has resulted in a significant narrowing of the current account deficit as a percentage of GDP. So you see the graph on the right, which shows the current account, and you see that the deficit was large. It has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller under the NDPP. Improvements in the current account performance and flows have helped to boost international reserves over the last 24 months. Gross international reserves have reached 7.05 billion in December 2018, 3.6 months of import cover, increased to 8.4 billion, 4 months of import cover at the end of 2019. Ghana's net international reserves have also increased from 3.4 billion in 2016 to 5.1 billion in 2019. So our reserves are growing and are healthy. I now want to turn to an interesting topic on the minds of many Ghanaians, which is the exchange rate of the cedi and its development. Ladies and gentlemen, the exchange rate, and I want you to pay attention on this section because there's so much propaganda around it. So the exchange rate is simply the price of one currency relative to other currencies. So the cedi to the dollar. At the basic level, it is influenced by factors such as the relative demand and supply for foreign currency. It is a price, just like the price of any good or service. How much of one currency does one need to give up to get the unit of another currency? And generally, it reflects the purchasing power of one currency relative to another. Countries have a choice between two basic types of exchange rate regimes. You can have a fixed exchange rate regime, which is one which is administratively fixed by the government or the monetary authority, with fiscal and monetary policy deployed to maintain the fixed exchange rate regime. So the CFA countries, for example, operate a fixed exchange rate regime. In practice, countries will devalue or revalue their currencies in line with their fundamentals. The other type of exchange rate regime is the floating exchange rate regime, where the exchange rate is determined by the forces of demand and supply. Ghana operates a floating regime or a managed floating regime, and for that reason, in Ghana, we can or should never expect that the exchange rate will be fixed. We are not operating a fixed exchange rate regime in Ghana. It will fluctuate depending on the demand and supply. What policymakers can do is to try to control the rate of depreciation or appreciation of the currency through sound policies. In the context of a floating exchange rate regime, therefore, arresting the depreciation of a currency can only mean slowing down the rate of depreciation or stopping the rapid and volatile depreciation of the currency. That is what arresting depreciation means in the context of a floating exchange rate regime. In general, there is a direct relationship between higher inflation, especially non-food inflation, and the exchange rate appreciation or depreciation. And if you look at the table that is here, it tells you fundamentally what determines an exchange rate in an economy is largely driven by inflation differentials. Those are fundamentals. Other factors can happen in the short run to affect the currency, but whenever you have higher inflation relative to the currency, you are dealing with have higher depreciation. Inflation lowers, you will have lower depreciation. And this is what we are seeing in this graph. So, with this background, leadership of Nana Addo 3 years. The answer is very simple. You look at this table. You look at the of the city. The Fourth Republic. The average city was 97 to 2000, 25.19%. 2001 to 2004, we dropped President Kufuor to 11.4%, and 2005, the second term, to 6.7%. 2009 to 2012, 10.9%. Under the NDC government of 2013 to 2016, it was 18%. Under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, it is, for the first 3 years, 8.7%. So, you see from this table that the cedi exchange rate under the MPP from 2017 to 2019 is twice as stable as it was under the NDC from 2013 to 2016. It has depreciated by 50% less, right? We are twice as stable under the MPP. And you should know that under the NDC, our currency was basically depreciating at the speed of Usain Bolt. Now, under the MPP, we have arrested the rapid depreciation of the cedi, and we will make no apology. But why? Controverted evidence. Why do they keep insisting that they can managing the cedi in the face of such incontrovertible evidence? Ladies and gentlemen, it is like you have taken an exam with somebody. They score 80% and you score 80%, and they come out to say they know the subject better than you. Yeah. Why maybe that? 40%. 80%. In fact, public. Appreciation of the performance. The record for the performance since 1992. But notwithstanding that they are the worst performance, they still want to challenge the best performance. Hey, Asemo. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of 2008, wait here, the of the city to the 1.1 to the quadruple other way to make it quadruple jump, right? It's not triple jump. They made it quadruple jump from 1 to 4. Something percentage increase. Indeed, the MPP for the if for close to 16. Is that clear? So, ladies and gentlemen, this city is performing quite well. Unprecedented for an election year. One election year to have that sort of change in the ratings outlook. Standard & Poor's also upgraded Ghana's sovereign credit rating from B- to B, with a stable outlook last year. This was the first upgrade by Standard & Poor's for Ghana in 10 years. This is a strong affirmation of the positive assessment by international financial markets of Ghana's economic fundamentals. In fact, at the time President Kufuor left office, Ghana's sovereign credit rating with Standard & Poor's was B+. This fell after 8 years of APC government to B-. And the President Nana Akufo-Addo's government is bringing this rating back up again. This is clearly a testament to the solid policies and reforms yielding fruits. Just last week, Ghana successfully issued the longest dated Eurobond ever issued by a sub-Saharan African country, with investors placing $15 million of orders for Ghana's 41-year bond. We issued a 41-year bond, the longest in the history of sub-Saharan Africa, and it was 8 times oversubscribed. 8 times oversubscribed. That is a remarkable vote of confidence in the economy of Ghana. The 7-year bond issued attracted the lowest coupon ever for Ghana at 6.375%. 6.375%. When the NDC issued a similar bond in 2016, it attracted 9.25%. Just look at the difference. 9.25, 6.3. Huge gap in interest rates. It means they are more confident in the economy under the MPP than under the NDC, and they are willing to give us lower interest rates for that. I now, ladies and gentlemen, want to touch on a subject that is very, very important to Ghanaians. This is the banking sector cleanup that the Bank of Ghana has undertaken. There's too much propaganda around the issue, and we need to understand it and understand it well. So, as I noted earlier, we inherited a financial system that was weak and fragile, with several institutions that had collapsed or were on the verge of collapse. Bank of Ghana, in cleaning up and strengthening the financial sector, revoked the licenses of 9 banks, 23 savings and loans, and 386 microfinance companies. Many of these companies were not working at all anyway, they were dead. The Bank of Ghana did not just do this because they felt it was time to create suffering for depositors and difficulties for the owners of those institutions, as the NDC is forcing us to believe. Rather, the central bank did this cleanup to protect the financial system and save hard-earned monies of hard-working men and women, like those bustling at Swami Magazine, Kumasi, and Medum right now as I speak. Furthermore, we should all note that many of these financial institutions were dead, and in many cases, they were not even paying their depositors or employees at all or regularly. There were countless instances where customers would travel several kilometers for just 200 cedis, withdraw, and they were told to go and come another day. This had become an unending spin for these good and innocent people. Cobras. Indeed, the current central bank leadership inherited what was pretty much like a body with a cancer in the toe. If you don't give up that toe in time to end the rot, you will soon move from one with a rotten toe to one without a leg, because the rot will eventually spread to your hip, and then you're going to have to lose the entire. The swift and decisive action taken by the new management team at the Bank of Ghana provided relief for the financial system as a whole through the funds provided by the government for depositor payouts. Ladies and gentlemen, let us remember that the failures of these financial institutions that we witnessed were a direct result of a system of poor licensing, non-existent capital, weak corporate governance, related party transactions, and so on. And this has actually hurt so many innocent people, depositors and employees alike. The NDC government and the previous management of the Bank of Ghana had ample time to address the impending failure. They were aware of the problems in 2015 in the case of banks, and in as far back as 2012 in the case of savings and loans and microfinance companies. In fact, President Mahama in the State of the Nation address in 2016 stated as follows, and I want to quote the former president. He said, and I quote, "Mr. Speaker, over the past 5 years, there has been a proliferation of microfinance companies. These companies come under the direct supervision of the Bank of Ghana. Unfortunately, lack of effective supervision has resulted in many cases in which microfinance companies licensed by Bank of Ghana have breached the rules and created supposed pyramid schemes that have eventually come crashing down. One such case is DKM. DKM, with super high interest rates between 50 and 55% promise, is believed to have caused a loss to its clients of 77 million. Many depositors have lost their livelihood." End quote. This was the State of the Nation address in 2016. So the government were aware of the problem, and they have been aware of this problem for over 5 years for savings and loans. Since 2015 for the bank, but they had no courage to deal with the cancer at the heart of the banking system. They had no courage to deal with it. Even in opposition, I alerted the country that on the basis of available data, 8 banks were likely to collapse. I'm sure many of you remember. I as an opposition member, said, looking at the data, 8 banks will collapse. You need to do something about it. But they did nothing. They refused to act. Thanks to the Bank of Ghana's cleanup exercise and the government's decision to step in to provide financial support to ensure an orderly exit of the failed institutions, over 1 million depositors have had access to their deposits already, and over 7,000 jobs have been saved as a result of employees who have been taken on by the GCB or Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited or the receivers. Employees whose salaries and employee benefits have been unpaid but by the defunct institutions have been paid or are being paid by receivers. Can you imagine what would have happened in this country if 4.6 million depositors had lost their deposits? Can you imagine what would have happened in this country if we had allowed this collapse of 4.6 million depositors to lose their deposits and over 10,000 individuals who have lost their jobs? The benefits of the banking sector cleanup exercise are evident for all to see. We now have a stronger and more resilient banking sector than ever before, and the deposits in the banking system have increased significantly as customers' confidence in the system has rebounded. We should never forget, ladies and gentlemen, we should never forget that under the NDC, we had a messy liquidations of the BCCI in 1999 and the closure and liquidation by the Bank of Ghana in the year 2000 of the Cooperative Bank and the Bank for Housing and Construction. Also under NDC, the collapse of DKM and the proliferation of unlicensed financial services such as Piram, R5, Bodislav Fan Club, Mesgold, and others that took advantage of their customers. With this background, I find the NDC's newfound care for indigenous firms quite baffling, given the number of indigenous firms that collapsed under 4 years of doomsday under their government. Why didn't their government bail those firms out? Those firms that collapsed as a result of doomsday. Where were the specific policies to support them? Do they know how many jobs were lost? What did they do about that if they cared so much about jobs? What about the jobs of the microfinance companies that collapsed under their watch? Did those people not matter? Well, still, they are telling people, the people of Ghana, that they would have kept the indigenous institutions alive, even after they found that they had obtained their licenses, in some cases, based on false and non-existent capital, or after it became obvious that they had siphoned off depositors' funds and the liquidity support that the Bank of Ghana had provided to those institutions. Is their idea of an indigenous financial sector one that is characterized by fraud or unlawful activities? Ladies and gentlemen, if you own a business and you employ somebody and they bring their certificate, you employ them, give them a job, and then later on you find out that they have actually presented a fake certificate to obtain the job, and not only that, they are stealing your money to build a house, will you not sack them from them? Will you not sack them from them? You will not keep them in employment. Will you say that because this person is from my village, I can keep him with a fake certificate and allow him to continue stealing my money? You wouldn't say it. A lot of these banks were engaged in fraudulent practices and poor corporate governance, and the licenses, some of the licenses were obtained fraudulently, and therefore the Bank of Ghana had to take action against them. We cannot say simply because you are indigenous banks, we should allow you to collapse the entire banking system. Nobody takes any pleasure in revoking a license of any institution. It must be a painful exercise, and I'm sure the Bank of Ghana, took its time in doing this. But it is important to note that all the 9 indigenous banks that were closed were to a large extent taken over by 2 Ghanaian indigenous banks, GCB and CBG. So we are ensuring stronger Ghanaian ownership in the banking sector. Also, the Ghana Amalgamated Trust, 100% Government of Ghana ownership, has successfully invested in 4 indigenous banks that were unable to meet the new capital requirements. It is noteworthy, let us note, that no bank was closed only on account of not meeting the new minimum capital requirement of 400 million. No bank was closed because they couldn't meet that. There were other matters that resulted in closure. Ladies and gentlemen, government has already spent over 13 billion. This is unplanned. We had not budgeted for 13 billion Ghana cedis, paying depositors of banks and other financial institutions. And President Nana Addo gave the assurance on 24th of December last year in his Christmas message. And it's an assurance I want to repeat because it doesn't seem to have been carried far. And it is an assurance that no depositor of a savings and loan or a microfinance institution will lose any of their deposits, not even one person. No depositor will lose. Though we want fairness. What we have done for those who have deposited in the banks, we are going to do the same for those who have deposited in the savings and loans and the microfinance. Everybody will get 100% of their deposits back. That is going to happen. And it is starting. Because all these depositors is lost, through no fault of their own. So the government has asked the receiver, working with the Bank of Ghana, to expedite the validation and payment of the depositors so that all the depositors will receive their monies after their validation. I also want to add that the President has also said that if we are treating all the savings and loans depositors in this manner and making sure we are giving all of them 100% of their deposits, then we should extend it to the DKM depositors and also give them 100% of their deposits. So they will also now be included in the refund so that they will receive their deposits. So we are therefore cleaning up the mess. We are cleaning up the mess the NDC created in the financial sector. The NDC was unable to do it. They were aware of the problem, but they refused to act. Given the amendment of the economy, they could not find the money even to pay teacher training allowance or nursing training allowance. Where would they have found 20 billion Ghana cedis to pay to depositors to rescue them from the collapse of the banks? They wouldn't do it. They didn't have the space to do it. But now we know, and I am sure, that left to the NDC, our banking system would have collapsed by now if we had left this to the NDC. But now they are going around saying, oh, we are going to pay everybody their money. You couldn't pay teacher training allowance. Where are you going to get the 13 billion? From your management. The Asantis have a program. Asanti for who obey. Who say, the Quatriquasi, Obama or Tuma. We are cleaning up the banking sector. We are now moving into the real sector of the economy. We promised in our manifesto that we are going to move this economy from a focus on taxation to a focus on production. So notwithstanding the revenue challenges that we inherited, we took the decision to reduce taxes in the economy. We understood that the tax burden on individuals and businesses was high following the high tax increases under the NDC regime. We were aware that this would worsen our revenue challenges in the short term, but we were of the firm conviction that reducing taxes will spur growth and increase revenues in the medium to long term. In fulfillment of our promise to move the economy from a focus on taxation to a focus on production and growth, we have thus far reduced at least 15 separate taxes. Reducing these taxes was a brave decision. For any manager of an economy, you come in with an economy which is in very, very dire straits, and your first action is to reduce taxes. It's not conventional, it is not orthodox, it is unconventional and unorthodox, but we knew it was the right policy for Ghana, and we went for it. So, in fact, no such broad-based reduction in taxes has ever been implemented in Ghana's history since 1957. Abolish the import duty on spare parts, abolish the 1% import levy, abolish the 17.5% VAT on domestic airlines tickets. Abolish the excise duty on petroleum, provided a full corporate tax deduction for private universities who plow back 100% of their profits into the university, reduce the national electrification scheme levy from 5% to 3%, reduce the special petroleum tax rate from 17%, 3% to 13%, replace the 17.5% VAT with a flat rate of 3%, and grant capital gains tax exemption on stocks exchange. So this is phenomenal, and we expected this to help us boost. Despite these tax reductions, the data shows that revenue collection in nominal cedi terms has actually increased by 25% annually since 2017. In terms of real growth, the average annual real growth before 2017 of revenue was 7.2%, and after 2017, it is 8.4%. Despite all these reductions, it's also important to note that the average dollar equivalent of collections before 2017 was $5.89 billion a year, and after 2017, it's been $7.57 billion a year. Beyond the reduction in taxes, we proceeded to focus on production in the real sector. Virtually every government has noted the need for Ghana to change the structure of the economy through diversification and by shifting from the focus on raw materials to value addition. This is a key pillar in Nana Akufo-Addo's Ghana Beyond Aid agenda. To accomplish this, we are implementing the following program: planting for food and jobs. We are increasing, seeing a major increase, production of cassava, rice, of maize, soya, plantain, and so on. We are actually exporting these goods now. We've established the Ghana Commodities Exchange. One district, one factory is on course, with 79 or so factories are in schemes at various stages of construction. The process of starting an integrated bauxite and aluminum industry is a major step in this diversification and innovative financing. The Ghana Bauxite and Aluminum Development Corporation law has been passed. The Ghana Integrated Aluminum Development Corporation has been established, and we are doing a similar thing for the iron and steel industry. A national automotive policy has been brought out, and we will see, I think next month, Volkswagen will be in Ghana to establish a car assembly plant in Ghana. Volkswagen, and by August we expect Toyota to do the same, and we will continue giving incentives to Kantanka as well as all of these to get the global production going. So, ladies and gentlemen, economic growth, which was on the declining trend, has been restored. GDP growth was 8.1% in 2017, 6.8% in 2018, and is projected at 7% in 2019. And this is compared to 3.4% in 2016. Ghana's GDP growth now for 3 years in a row is amongst the fastest in the world. For 3 years in a row, our GDP growth is amongst the fastest in the world. Non-oil growth has increased from 4.6% in 2016, 5.8% in 2018, and projected 5.9% in 2019. The recent growth performance has been driven by industry and agri sectors, and agri particularly reflecting the effect of the policy interventions in the sector, most notably the planting for food and jobs. This has resulted in an increase in agri sector output from 2.9% in 2016 to 6.8% in 2018 and a projected 6.4% in 2019. Industry growth has increased from 4.3% in 2016 to 15.7% in 2017, 10.6% in 2018, and a projected 8.8% in 2019. And the growth in the service sector has almost doubled from 2.8% in 2016 to 5.4% in 2019. So quite clearly, ladies and gentlemen, when you look at the real sector, we promise that we will move the economy from taxation to production. And the real sector, you will definitely see we have reduced the taxes and we have seen production going up with the interventions we are making in agriculture and industry, and it is good economic management. Ladies and gentlemen, Ghanaian society, I want to talk about the formalization of our economy. Ghanaian society and micro small businesses continue to be largely informed. In such an environment, access to the services targeting the delivery of public services to those who need these services the most tends to be difficult. And in most cases, it depends on who you know. For the banking sector, lending rates are high, partly because of the high information problems in establishing identity and in verifying ownership of property. These have to change if we are aspiring to become a modern middle-income economy. It is for all these reasons that we are aggressively pursuing the agenda to formalize the Ghanaian society through digitization. With digitization, we are introducing new and more efficient ways of doing things, and we are curbing corruption. So far, the agenda, we've started the issue of national ID cards. This is something that has been on the agenda for a very long time. But thankfully, by the grace of God, by the end of this year, Ghana will have a fully functioning national ID card system. That is fantastic. As at last Friday, we had over 8 million people who have been registered. Currently, we are registering about 115,000 people every day. By the end of March, we will have 12 million people registered, and soon after, we should hit our target of 16 million people in registered. And that is going to be a major change for this country. Most people don't even understand the huge implication of having a unique identifier for everybody. It will be the anchor for integrating all databases in the country. Currently, less than 2 million people are registered for tax identification numbers. Less than 2 million out of our population of 30 million. But once we complete the national ID exercise this year, our proposal is to convert all the national ID numbers into TIN numbers. So immediately you do that, you will have 16 million plus tax identification numbers for everyone. Big problem will have been solved, and we will have brought everybody into the tax net. And that will be a real major accomplishment by Nana Akufo-Addo. We've implemented the digital address system. There's no location in Ghana today on water or land that does not have a unique address. DVLA, we have digitized driver's licenses and vehicle registrations. We've digitized the passport office. So today, getting a passport is very easy. If you go online, we've made the ports paperless. You can renew your NHIS on your mobile phone. Mobile money interoperability and mobile wallets and within different companies. By the way, mobile money interoperability that we have introduced in Ghana is the first of its kind in Africa. The first of its kind. There's no country in Africa that has this type of mobile money interoperability. And places like Kenya only have interoperability in the telcos. No country has been able to achieve interoperability between the mobile wallets, the telcos, and the bank accounts. We are the only country that has been able to do it. And because we have done that, we are going to reap a lot of benefits from it. We're going to reap a lot of benefits and bring a lot of people into financial inclusion. Thanks to the Bank of Ghana, next month, in March, Ghana will launch what we call the Universal QR Code payment system next month, which will make it possible for all retailers, including the people who sell coffee, Brokman, and Wache on the street. All retailers will be able to have the capacity to receive payments from their customers directly on their mobile phone. Without a point of sale device being necessary. This is a major transformation. All retailers will be able to receive, even Trotro, if you want to pay by your mobile wallet, you will receive it. You have their own QR code, right? Maybe Trotro owners will be very happy because maybe you don't get a full account. But everybody will be able to receive the watches, and so you don't have to keep a lot of cash if you are selling things, so that armed robbers will come and get your cash. If we all start paying using our Momo or bank card, you just pay through the mobile phone, and the matter will be finished. Your money will be in your bank account. We are introducing this. The first country in Africa to introduce a universal QR code is Ghana, and we are introducing it next month. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not all. As I said, we have put in place the pillars, and it's now time for us to reap the benefits of what we have put in place. Ladies and gentlemen, we have completed a pilot, and on February 18th, that is in less than 2 weeks' time, I will launch a nationwide mobile application that will allow ECG customers to buy units for their meters through their mobile phone at any time. So, if it is 2 a.m. in the morning and you have run out of units, you pick up your mobile phone, put in the digits, and the meter will come on, and everything will work. So, we will launch this on February 18th by the grace of God. And I must add, you will also be able to buy units for someone else. So it's not just for you, and so to create problems for people. You get a call at 3 a.m. in the morning, then the units are sound to be done. So we are going to create a new problem. But digitization is going to reduce a lot of inefficiency and make life easier for all our people, and reduce a lot of corruption in the system. And this is what we are doing. We have linked the emergency 112 number with the digital address system. As you know, we have delivered ambulances, one constituency, one ambulance, and we have linked all the ambulances. We can tell from the command center where each ambulance is at any time in the country, where each ambulance is. We've also digital address system. So if you use your Ghana Post GPS system to call the ambulance center will know exactly where you are, your address, your digital address, the exact location. And it is important that all of us get used to using the Ghana Post GPS, because sometimes you may be in your home and armed robbers are attacking. You need to call the police, but you don't have time to explain exactly where your house is, because it is maybe in some lungu somewhere, right? Then you have, if you use your Ghana Post GPS to call 112 or the emergency party, immediately the command center will know that this is the address where you are calling from, and then the police will come there immediately. You don't need to explain anything. You just say, I need help. That's all. I'm under attack. So you do it. So we have linked the Ghana Post GPS with the emergency system and the ambulance system. And Ghana has now got a working ambulance system. In addition to help the ambulances, we have employed drones to deliver critical medicines and blood across many health facilities in the country. And Ghana today is the world's leading drones medical supplier. We are in the lead. The world's leading supplier of medicines by drone. It's a remarkable technology that is saving lives. Snake bites, mothers giving birth in very remote areas. We are able to get to them, and we will continue to do this. So ultimately, digitization of the economy will improve efficiency and reduce corruption and de-risk the business environment. And for me, one of the exciting things about this digitization, because when I was at the Bank of Ghana as Deputy Governor, I kept dealing with this issue, and we kept talking, how do we bring down interest rates? There's so much knowledge. There's so much knowledge on the internet, and we have to allow our senior high schools to access that knowledge. And we promise free Wi-Fi, and we're going to deliver free Wi-Fi to all senior secondary schools. So the program is going to kick off this year. The program will kick off this year, and an initial set of tertiary schools and senior high schools will be kicking off, including KMUST, by the way. That will be the initial set of schools. Once we are talking about senior high schools, I want to talk a little bit about three SHs. Is here. He's the master, but he has taught me a few things. I will say, I must say, Dr. Matthew Nambo and his deputy, they've done an excellent job at 3 SHs. Ladies and gentlemen, the empirical evidence is very persuasive that the key to economic transformation is human capital, not natural resources. There are many countries with natural resources, but it hasn't helped them in any way. The evidence shows that what matters is human capital. This is why President Nana Akufo-Addo has placed an emphasis of making sure that every Ghanaian child, regardless of the financial circumstances of the parent, will have access to free high school education. This was the promise we made prior to the election in 2016, and it is a promise that we have fulfilled. I must say that the free SHS policy is the most significant social intervention program introduced in Ghana since independence. There's no doubt about it. Since independence. Introducing this free SHS, we had a big challenge. We did not have sufficient numbers. The free SHS has resulted in a 69% increase in enrollment. 69% in enrollment. Many of these students would have been sitting at home. Today, 1.2 million children are benefiting from free SHS. The question that we faced when we tried to implement this free SHS policy, the question that we faced was, if we don't have enough infrastructure, how can we tell whose child should stay at home and whose child should go to school? Who should stay at home? In response to this challenge, we introduced the innovative double-track system as a temporary solution to the problem while we construct new schools. The thinking here with the double-track system is very similar to how our churches have the first service and the second service and the third service with the same. Because the church has been built, but the people are needing. So all of them want to come and hear the word of God on Sunday. So should we say to people, I am at Nazi, or can we say you come for first service, you come for second service, you come for third service, and all of you will hear the word of God. So this is our innovative solution and a temporary solution to a problem that we face. We'll say, okay, let's leverage our existing schools. Some people will come at one time, go home, and another set will come. We are not saying this is how it's going to be, but this is the temporary solution whilst we build more and more schools to do this. So I will say that it is better to educate a child even under a tree than to let them be sitting home. It's better to educate a child. Because if we have said that they should not be, we should not do double track, it means we could not have implemented free SHS. We would have been saying, let's wait to finish them. In fact, if you apply the same logic, national health insurance, we couldn't have implemented. Because we would have said, let's wait and build all the hospitals before we implement national health insurance. It was introduced in 2003, but even today in 2020, we are still building hospitals. But we have to make a start. And this is why Unauthorized said, let us implement this double track. Let us build the schools, and in good time, they will replace the double track system with a single track for everyone. Those who are criticizing the double track system have not been able to offer one alternative. Not one alternative. They are just saying, I will abolish the double track, but they won't tell you what they are going to replace it with. And they cannot tell you, because abolishing the double track means abolishing free SHS. That's what it is. Because you have to be able to tell me, then all reason, tell me what you're going to do. They cannot tell us. Up to now, they've been criticizing free SHS since 2008. Up to now, they don't have an alternative. So, this is why government is investing in the construction of schools and new infrastructure. And I must say, it was very heartwarming when we read about a request from the government of Kenya. The government of Kenya has asked our own good ministers of education to come and teach them how to make a double track work for their country. I know that Dr. Yahiduchu was there to give them a brief on what we are doing. And they have sent a letter requesting the Minister for Education, Dr. Matthew Pokuprepe, to come and teach them how to do the double track system in Kenya. So let us appreciate what we have. We are thinking long term, and we are not going to compromise the education of our children. Ladies and gentlemen, we need a government that is committed to the free SHS system. A government that is prepared to commit the resources to finance it. And we trust free SHS to someone who did not believe in it in the person. And we trust free SHS to someone who said it was a gimmick. And we trust it to someone who said if he had 2 billion Ghana cedis, he would not spend it on free SHS. And you trust free SHS with someone who says he would abolish the double track but has no alternative. We cannot take that risk. You can only trust the free SHS system with Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Only this. You can trust the free SHS system. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the key promises that Nana Akufo-Addo made was to ensure that the poor are not excluded from access to infrastructure. This is the rationale behind the setting up of the Development Authority. And after just 3 years in office, there has been a remarkable provision of infrastructure for the poor and deprived communities across the country. We have undertaken and are undertaking many projects that matter to the poor in our villages and communities, in addition to projects in the urban towns and cities. These include water, toilets, markets, school blocks, health facilities, police stations, and so on. The massive investment in water and sanitation infrastructure, for example, has resulted in an increase in the number of open defecation-free communities from 410 in 2016 to over 4,700 communities by the end of 2019. This is major. We will outdoor, ladies and gentlemen, we've done a lot of work putting together the data on infrastructure because we want to show the country what we have done in every district and constituency in the country. We've put all this data together and it is just remarkable. I'm sure it will surprise a lot of Ghanaians. And today, we are going to focus on the data on our manifesto promises. By April, in the next quarter, we will present the data on infrastructure, and it was going to be a very remarkable piece of data. So, ladies and gentlemen, this year, the President has said is the year of roads. It's the year of Amapuata, the roads minister. And I can assure you that so much is going on, the resources are being put together, and Ashanti, you will see that this year is the year of roads. will see this year is the year of growth. We are mobilizing and a lot of roads, critical roads, have started and we will be taking off very, very soon. And so let's be patient and you will see what we are doing. Let me now come to our manifesto promises. Ladies and gentlemen, it is clear that so much has been done in the management of the economy. But how has this translated into the fulfillment of our manifesto promises to the people of Ghana? In tracking and measuring our progress after 3 years for each of these commitments in a way that is intuitive and easily understood by the generality of Ghanaians, we have adopted 3 metrics or 3 categories in assessing our manifesto promises. We have divided the assessment into 3 categories. One is promises delivered. These are promises we have fully implemented. So we have delivered on those promises. Then we have promises that we are delivering. So if you take a promise like free SHS, we have delivered on it. So we'll count it under promises delivered. Then there are those that we are delivering. We've started delivering, but we haven't completed. Like one district, one factory. We have started the process, we've created a number of factories, but we are ongoing, like 1 million or so. We have not yet completed the process, but we are on course. It is on track, and we are moving. And then there are those that are pending, but those that we haven't started work on at all, like the passage of the Consumer Protection Law that we said we would do, we haven't yet done. Ladies and gentlemen, we have tabulated a total of 388 promises in our manifesto. That's quite a large number in total. And what we are looking at for the overall score of our assessment, we are just looking at the raw count of the promises. Of the 388 promises, how many have you delivered? How many are you delivering? How many are pending? That is essentially the raw count. There's no weighting attached to each sector or anything. Just the raw count of the promise. And I must say, and it is very, very important to note, that this is the first time in the history of Ghana that any political party has come to the people with an assessment of its promises to the people. No other party has done this. This is the first time this is happening, and we think it's good for the governance of this nation. And we encourage all other parties who have governed in the past, it's not too late. They can come with their manifestos and tell us how much was actually accomplished. No government has done it. So let us look at the promises that we have delivered. And there are quite a lot. As I said, we have 388 promises. If you look at the agri sector, we said we will ensure that farming inputs are available in the farming communities at affordable prices, and we have delivered. Promise to support private seed growers to increase supply of improved seeds to farmers, we've delivered. Promise to reintroduce compensation payments under cocoa disease control payments program, we've delivered. Promise to expand local processing of cocoa, we've delivered. Promote capital ranking and facilitate land acquisition for its development, we've delivered. Provide patrol boats to stop foreign fishing vessels, we have delivered. We collaborate with the private sector to develop infrastructure for inland farming, we have delivered. Place fisher folk directly in charge of subsidized inputs at local outlets, we've delivered. Encourage local poultry processing, we have delivered. Support accelerated development of selected products including grains and vegetables, we have delivered. Increase subsidies on retail prices of seeds and fertilizers, we've delivered. Support selected products with storage, transportation, and marketing, we've delivered. Reform and revive the national buffer stock, we have delivered. Improve fertilizer distribution, we have delivered. Have discussions with Burkina Faso for a more controlled spillage of the Bagre Dam, we have delivered. Revive the Grains Development Authority, we have delivered. Establish the Ghana Commodity Exchange, we have delivered. Restore overall macro stability, we have delivered. Reduce the rate of government borrowing, we have delivered. Reduce interest rates, we have delivered. Shift from taxation to production, we have delivered. Enact the Fiscal Responsibility Law, we have delivered. Fiscal Council, we have delivered. Financial Stability Council, we have delivered. Banking and unbanked, we have delivered. Abolish the special import levy, we have delivered. Abolish 17.5% VAT on medicines, we have delivered. 17.5% VAT on financial services, we have delivered. Abolish 5% real estate VAT, we have delivered. Abolish 17.5% VAT on domestic airline tickets, we have delivered. Reduce VAT on micro and small enterprises from 17.5% to 3%, we have delivered. Offer tax incentives to young entrepreneurs, we have delivered. Fix the basics of the government machinery to make it work in acquiring driver's licenses, passports, registering businesses, and so on, we have delivered. Encourage the colleges of education to upgrade their curricula to ensure they produce graduates that will teach well-equipped and critical thinking population, we have delivered. Undertake a national audit of skills and competencies in a bid to align training opportunities and resources to respond to national and local human resource demands, we have delivered. Ensure proper decentralization of teacher recruitment management, we have delivered. Restore teacher training allowance, we have delivered. Restore allowances to Arabic instructors, we have delivered. Restore book and research allowances to lecturers, we have delivered. Introduce history of Ghana as a subject in primary schools, we have delivered. Integrate school sports as part of school activities, we have delivered. Abolish the payment of utility bills by students, we have delivered. Redefine basic education from kindergarten to include senior high school, covering vocational and agricultural and technical schools, we have delivered. Implement free SHS, we have delivered. Increase the amount of loans to the student loans, we have delivered. Develop the 10-year power master plan to meet the medium-term, long-term energy needs, we have delivered. End doom saw, we have delivered. Reducing electricity tariffs, we have delivered. Ensure procurement of new power projects are executed via new PPP and IPP agreements, we have delivered. Ensure there is sufficient reserve margin to ensure stability of our energy system, we have delivered. So this is just a few of those that we have delivered. Ladies and gentlemen, if you put all of this together, and we're making the data available, because it is of all the three, as I said, we made 388 promises in our manifesto. The most recent validation exercise that we undertook at the end of January 2019 shows that we have either delivered or we are delivering on 78% of our promise. We have either delivered or we are delivering on 78% of our promises. Of course, this 70%, 78% is an aggregate figure. You can go to the sectoral breakdown which we provide to show you what we are doing for each sector. You can see that on the economy, we can show you what we have done for each. But if you can go to the percentages for each sector, we can show you that if you look at youth and sport, we are delivering 79%. You go to trade and industry, 82%, with 18% tourism and creative arts, about 46%, 54% payment, social development 70%, security 70%, and so on. Education 94%, the economy 80%, chieftaincy 80%, foreign affairs 100%, governance, corruption and public accountability 53%, health 65%, infrastructure 78%. So you can see the breakdown. And all of this, we are going to put it on the internet for everybody to go and interrogate the data themselves. We are going digital. This one is not green book. So the website, we are putting it on the internet. If you go to the website, and everybody can go, it should be live by now. www. We are still working to do more. And as I said, this is the first time any government in our democratic dispensation has brought its performance in front of the people. Say, this is what we promised, and this is what we are doing. Ladies and gentlemen, what is undeniable is that there has been a remarkable turnaround in the Ghanaian economy. Over the last 3 years, the difference is one of vision, dedication, and competence. We have outperformed the NDC in virtually every sphere of the economy. I mean, every sphere. We have appropriately combined economic theory as taught in our textbooks with the collective and engineer a doctor. An accountant who, after qualifying, decides not to use what they learned in school. So forget about everything you learned in the textbook when you are actually practicing. Can you imagine that? Unfortunately, if you don't take your time and read and understand your textbook in a subject like economics, you will end up mismanaging the economy with a confirmed economic management techniques with disastrous results. Isn't it? If you don't read your textbooks and understand them well, we have seen it. You will end up with a confirmed economic management techniques which will result in disaster. I have no doubt that the NDC will come out and challenge what I have said here today. But when they come out, just ask them to bring contrary data. Though they shouldn't just talk. They should come with contrary data to contradict what I have said here today. And I bet you, when you challenge them, they will either start insulting you or they will run away to Burkina Faso. Have more to do. This year has been designated by the President as the year of roads, and the country will soon see evidence of this. We have many more schools and hospitals to construct. We have malaria to eradicate. We have jobs to create, the digitization agenda to complete, and so on. We also need to consolidate the gains that we have made so far. we will be the first to admit that we have not attained perfection in everything that we have done. But we are modernizing and transforming this country in fundamental ways for the future. So please, keep faith with us. Keep faith with the President and our people. The future is bright if we stay the course. That is why we are asking the good people of Ghana to give Unauthorized Akufo-Addo 4 more to do more for you. Thank you for your attention. God bless you. And God bless everyone.
Gradually, the program is, the first part of the program is coming to an end. You are aware that this is a 2-day program, the town hall and resource fair. After the first part, His Excellency will lead us and officially open the exhibition. The exhibition is photographic and video presentation of the work that has happened on the ground within these last 2 years. Unprecedented, uncontested, unmatched. The photographic evidence is out there. Before we get to that, His Excellency the Vice President has availed himself to speak to any queries that we may have and even take suggestions. This is not a government that is scared of accountability. It's so applicable, and the Magwai said, yet Mamifo Sono, you will assembly the son, and I said, Argentina, a Kenya, and then the moment to be a pizza, and I said, I shall invite my boss, the Minister for Information, to moderate the Q&A. Our friends from the South, please prepare an extra mic for us. We have promised, we have delivered. Yaka, Yaya, Miakle, Miawe, Yato, Over to you, Honorable Minister for Information.
Thank you, Honorable Pius. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency the Vice President is done with his presentation. We have some 30 minutes within which we will take questions and get answers from His Excellency the Vice President and Ministers of State and Deputy Ministers who are here. There is a microphone available for the questions like we do at all our town hall meetings. To signal us, we direct the microphone to you. You have an opportunity to ask a question. We will take 2 questions from each of the rows here for this first part, 2, 2, 2, 2. And then we will take responses and come back for the next set. I want to pray you to keep your questions simple and straight to the point so that we can take as many of them as possible. Ministers and deputy ministers who are here, please be on notice to make a call to assist in responding to some of the questions. If I'm talking you will make a cry and say, what's the view of one? I say, this is your home. Now, or can you be so bizarre? I told them I was assuming their water. They asked for us here for Michael and Brown. The family, ministers, they are say, what happened? Was you na ebi na ebe fam se kwa ma ebi sa asem na wo se na ma ya wo tira nenye bi e job sa wa enti na no ebe fi ase na wo so ebe sira mo ni bi se e se bi sa no e bo ko wa na ko e na kwan so e bi sa ko mo se na ba cho bo ni tre na che mo bre na fi enti wa se ma ni de na na ko se ni ma to so me ni e to so na so e to so ma ma bi bi se in my just one laptop and I buy some agents for free zone. Or a free performance what is happening in one of the apostles. It was as a yellow and the fire and proposes the other apostles. They never more and one time. Every 7 years is happening. They have shown themselves on the master in finance and laptop and the free zone and proposes the other. Now, we have a river and 7 years of MC. And just one crab pot, any free zone area. They are published. And I'm going to change as a result. I was a control mind. I was a was a young family writing Francois. I told me I'm much of a break, no question. And I'm more fear to so a simple project. So, who's he saying? Opening
about begin any Emmanuel Ranchi, or now Emmanuel Ranchi. I talk about general of Valkesi. And it's here, honorable Patricia Patricia in the Panama. Was a parliamentarian on the open was so, I am glad. As I heard of Barney's County to Pond vessel. Then when we take a party yet, there was here, and then this phone, and then now, as I said, one of the bodies, local level, ever to my possible. And as a man for, I reach Nigeria, this car, Nigeria, America, Nigeria, as a man for a car. Oh, what was it?
Emmanuel's question is why assembly members are not paid. And I imagine what you're going to assembly members. The first question is about the one crab pot. So, what are you saying? What's the plan for that? Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. Please, my name is Maxwell Attack. I'm a broadcast journalist for Class Media Group. We are no Peter of Class Media 1.3 FM in Accra. Please, unlike the failed Investor where we understand that all customers were all migrated to the Consolidated Bank of Ghana to receive their full deposits and payments. My understanding is that government has taken a new payment modality when it comes to and loans companies, depositors are receiving a cap amount of up to 20,000 Ghana cedis regardless of your investment. That is to say, if you have 1 million Ghana cedis locked up at any of the collapsed savings and loans companies like Pesa Life and Savings Company, you will receive 20,000 Ghana cedis. Unfortunately, these depositors cannot have access to check their balance, and they don't know what exactly government is going to do for them.
And so
I want to find out from President that moving forward, what is the guarantee that these people will receive the remaining amount after the 20,000 Ghana cedis? And then, what exactly are they going to receive this? And then try to unveil payment plans for these people. Thank you very much.
Maxwell, thank you for your question. We'll take 2 more questions from this column, 2 more here, and 1 outstanding 1 here. May I kindly mention to our media police, we have different platforms for media interactions with the president, etc. This one is for the general public. So if you can just stay at home. Yes, sir.
My name is Douglas Oaks. Douglas Oaks.
Okay.
From Achimam Abiega South. The poor of my penny application I'm a super. Now, Ashanti region, Kumasi, your quality, the set, now I'm for a trial. Now, the pain must go down. A final, I'm not any important potential uprising now, a war, Kumasi, any Ashanti region. The best way,
Francois, information from the Brady Accra, 91 question. Transport Minister, who has the patrol, Geneva, now one grab for question, Deputy Local Government Minister, also about assemblymen payment, no? Patrol, they
Maiden Anthony Okon, representing Ghana Union of Traders Association, Gupta Chairman, Ashanti Maiden, Minister of Finance, Eric Prime Budget, and all my associates, who are also person who is going to say, you will have to from my person, you person you will sit there as a standing back, then you will be human. The question goes to you. China, the person will be almost on the Bible. It's in guidance to be married to the budget. And now, perhaps I was about it. So, in fact, I do it to our column has seen. Of course, I know sending an appointment for SME lending, any micro and small scale lending. And what you say, one question at the back.
Let us focus on energy minister, transport minister, so last question from this caller.
Let us, in a friendly about what they do, as I feel I think so.
Deputy Minister for Energy, Deputy Minister for Local Government, Minister for Transport, Minister for Roads is also here. There's a question about Sofo line and progress of work on Ashanti roads as well. Transport Minister, we'll start with you. Bawumia, port and transport fare increases.
Mr. Vice President, let me say, if child person about Bawumia, again, I'm telling you, but you mention President Nene, you mention the one action of say, Bawumia project, procurement project, I think we'll move back. Yes, so why I want to step here. And back 2017. Now, the government, any webmaps for a starting process of redeveloping the Bawumia. When the before the starting here, the route of our own judge until 2006 number